Hi, this is Sherry. Veronica, here your government goes. Again, they plan to acquire the Drax Hall lands for housing. Now, they did the same for 6 months, but didn't pay the person who supposedly owned the land, and it is held up and has been held up now for what? For how long? 75 years? Or I don't know how long, 50 years? It's been held up. It has been held up because eminent domain don't seem, well, you call it compulsory acquisition. The wider world calls it eminent domain. As you can see here, when you put in compulsory acquisition, eminent domain comes up right here. See that? Just so you know that it could be, considered under different terminology, eminent domain, but you call it, like I said, compulsory acquisition. Okay, so let's go along with this acquisition. You need to pay the people when you do what you do. Now, they are saying that this particular plantation is 957 acres. 957 acres, and the Drax name comes from Henry Drax. He was one of the largest plantation owners in Barbados, and he was then in St. John, but this particular plantation is in St. John, in St. George. Drax Hall Plantation that we're talking about here is in St. George, and your government is planning to take over all of this acreage. Do they have all of the money? Do they have all of the money? Who owns it now? Well, I don't know if Alex Mitchell will say that he has deeds to that particular parcel of land, but he does get involved when you talk about plantations in Barbados. He shows up to talk about him having deeds, and you know how Alex talks, like he owns all of Barbados, or most of it. But yeah, I don't know if he has deeds that will cover this particular area in St. John, in St. George. Forgive me, in St. George. But it would be nice to know what he thinks about this acquisition. It would be nice to know if the government in Barbados has the money, instead of doing what they do and then don't pay the people. Who owns it now? Who owns it? Who owns Drax Hall Plantation now? I don't know. Yeah, but they're pulling in the fact that there's a case against hundreds of years of slavery, and they're talking about the guy who's in charge of reparations, Trevor Prescott. Here, he's a member. He's a member of Parliament, and so see when you see them talking about compulsory acquisition, eminent domain. When you hear them talk about eminent domain, and then you see them throw this in, they throw this part in about slavery, because you guys don't like to talk about slavery. You pretend it never happened, right? You walk around and you pretend it never happened, and it's so bad that you don't even see your brother as your brother. It's like you see them as strangers, that you do the things you do, and say the things you say about them. You guys, whatever, let's move off of that. So slavery is not something you guys like to talk about. You don't even teach it in your schools, that you were enslaved for centuries, came from slavery, centuries. But let's move away from that again. Yeah. So when you see them talk about eminent domain or compulsory acquisition, and then Trevor Prescott's name comes in, National Task Force on Reparations, and then they talk about the hundreds of years. You can see the road this is going down, right? You can see the road this is on. The road that this is on is not going to be good for whoever owns that plantation. If there's a family that owns the plantation, whoever owns the plantation, it's going down a road that, and it's not that I don't like the road. I can't even fix my mouth to say, oh, Barbados, the government is going to steal property, or the government this, and I cannot even fix my face and my mouth to say something like that, because I'm one million, trillion percent in favor of reparations. It must be paid. It must be paid. The monarchy has to be disbanded. It has to be disbanded. And the money's repaid. All the jewelry, all the artifacts, everything stolen must be returned. Must be returned. If you want the balance that you're looking for, if you want a peace on earth you're looking for, you cannot sit by idly and pretend that, that happened such a time ago, and you know that they have the upper hand because of what happened such and such a time ago. You know that already. You can see them in their ivory tower, okay? They have the upper hand, and you cannot sit by idly and say what happened such and such a time ago, and it's not happening now, and it's none of your business. It is your business. It's happening now. Anything that happened in the world is still with you. Anything, just because you're not seeing it. Sometimes things regress. Sometimes there's an ebb and there's a flow. Ebb and a flow. But don't get tied up in the ebb, because the flow is coming, okay? The flow is coming. There's always something that returns. This life here on earth is a cycle. Things repeat themselves. And things repeat themselves because you have poor history. You don't know what to look for. You don't know if you're going or coming, and things will repeat themselves, and you walk around talking, oh, it wasn't like that before. Yeah, it was always like that. And it was like that before. You just don't know the history, okay? So Drax Hall in St. George, if the government takes it up, and whoever the family is, I guess they'll get a smidgen of what it costs because of reparations. They can get a smidgen, if anything. But let the people know. If you're not going to pay them, just do what you have to do. Do what you have to do, and let people know that you are putting them under the auspices of the reparations, whatever, this here, reparations thingy here. Let them know that it's coming out of reparation. Let people know. Don't just have it all tied up in court, and you have acquired it, but nothing can happen to it. Stuff goes on the same way. That is ridiculous. It's madness. It's ridiculous to the nth degree, to the nth power. You have to, when you do something, you just can't make noise about doing something. It has to come to fruition. It has to come about where it is beneficial. It has to be beneficial, okay? So when you take this property, don't have it hung up like 6 months. You already see what happened in 6 months and how it's hung up. It's hung up. Learn from that. Don't keep repeating the same crap all the time. Learn from what is happening in 6 months, and when you do get this, when you do acquire this compulsory acquisition or eminent domain, when you do it, and you have to do discounts. You know how you do discounts for Hotel St. Philip? Yeah, you could do discounts, and then you could say it's reparational discounts. Is reparational a word? I just made it up, and I'm sticking by it. Do it. Say it's under the reparational purview. Okay, we're doing some deep discounts because you had people working. You had not people. You had my ancestors. You had our ancestors working on that plantation, and although it was slavery, they were still being fed, and they still had clothing, they had a home over their head, so there was some sort of payment. You're gonna look at this thing straight on. You gotta look at it straight on. The slavery was that they didn't offer their services for a price. It was they didn't have a say. That's really the bad thing about slavery. They didn't have a say, because even now you're getting paid, but you're not getting paid the price that you are working. Everyone is getting, if people are working and they're not getting paid enough, you heard people say, we will want an increase in minimum wage. If you were getting paid enough, you won't be talking about no minimum wage. If you were getting paid enough, there won't be an issue about minimum wage. If you were getting treated fairly, you won't be talking about Black Lives Matter. Woo! Black Lives Matter. Woo! You won't be doing that. You won't be doing that. And that's the same thing from this time. Same thing from this time. Yeah, they were getting food. Wasn't good food, but you don't get good food now. Yeah, they have clothes on their backs. You have clothes on your backs now, but it's not really good. Not really good stuff. Yeah, you have a place to live, but it's falling apart. It's not the best. Some people live in better conditions during this time than others. Same thing. Same thing now. Same situation now. Okay? But you have to really take a close look at it and you realize nothing went away. Nothing went away. You have to disband the monarchies, and you have to divvy up whatever they have in all their banks, Bank of England, and all that money they make from oil, and that you have to share, and people have to come back to themselves, because you at this stage you're not yourself. You think you are, but you think you are because you really don't even know yourself, because of all the mixing and matching that were done back then. The mixing and the matching, okay? There was a whole lot of stuff that went on back then that it would be impossible for them to write it in a history book. It is an impossibility. They cannot put what they did in a history book. It cannot be. You have to pull into yourself. You have to go deep into yourself, and it's all written on your DNA. It's there. It's there, but you have to be brave enough to face it and to say, yeah, this is why I behave this way. This is why when I hear a song, I want to walk up. This is why I do this. This is why I do that. You're going to have to go inside and make the truth to yourself. But yeah, they're planning to take up this particular Drax Hall St. George property, and they're talking about, usually when you do eminent domain, you have to pay the people the price, the going price, the market price. You have to. But since they brought this part in, you can see, okay, don't act stupid. Don't come to Naked Departure and act stupid with me, okay? Please don't do that. Just stay in your lane and stay off the channel. When you come, you can see what's going on here when they say task force on reparations. You can see, and crime against humanity. You can see. You can see what road they're going down on. So it's going to be discounted, okay? Whoever owns Drax Hall, you'll get some change, but it's going to be discounted. Whoever owns Drax Hall should probably get $5. $5. Maybe they should pay the government for all the, the fees associated with it going from their name into the government's name. Yeah, you hire attorneys to do things like that. Maybe the Drax Hall people should pay for that, all that. And so they come up with zero. Sherry Veronica.